are now listening to the Sportz Nutz.
Hey, y'all, it is the Sportz Nutz. Yes, this is episode number 106. We hope you guys have had a fantastic week. We know here at least the Keeler household with an absolute fantastic week. Matt is not going to be, unfortunately, joining us tonight. His niece is graduating. Woo! It's an exciting time indeed. When anybody ever graduates, congratulations to all the 2025 grads who have graced their presence along the stage, who will be gracing their presence. It's just an exciting time, I had the privilege of watching my three girls move up to the next grade level, and it really is. Of course, every dad gets emotional. Jody, you know this right away. You get emotional when anytime you see like memories and pictures of your child or children as young, and then you look at it now, you're like, oh my gosh, where did time go? It's mind-boggling. But guys, I just mentioned Jody, our man Jody.
Yes, sir.
Join us. What is going on, brother?
I can't call it. I had to get old Uncle Shane Landon, my son, who graduates this year. He told me a couple of weeks ago, he said, if Uncle Shane don't come, I'm going to be awful upset. And we fought a bunch of demons to get him here, but he's here and we're excited. And, Shane, don't let him fool you. He's cried at a few events, and he's, so don't let him fool you.
Oh yeah,
we know that real well.
I'm a big baby at heart, so that's how it is. But hey, hopefully everybody's doing good out there. Hopefully our glare isn't too bad for right now. But hey, we're trying to get in where we can right now, and got a lot to do. So trying to stay out the way to at least get this great conversation that we're going to have in with Abe and everybody tonight.
Absolutely, guys. Hank might be joining us. Fingers crossed. Let's hope he does. But this gentleman literally sitting right next to me. This is our good friend John of the Pitch Grid podcast. John, what is going on, brother?
What is up, brother?
Hey, let's get it going, guys. We have the prodigal son has returned. Mr. Abe Gordon has returned. He is going to grace us with our presence. Cannot wait to have him there because we got some really good questions we're going to ask him. We're going to talk some baseball, some soccer, you name it. We got a whole slew of questions to ask. And then, of course, when Abe does decide to leave, hopefully never, but he will go enjoy his wonderful weekend. We have some more content we'll talk to you guys about as well. Guys, let's bring him on. Hey, what is going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I am doing pretty good. I mean,
come on, let's go ahead and give congratulations right here. Ronald Acuna, first pitch.
I mean, yeah,
like out here.
How's everyone not having a great night when you see that happen? And it's just funny because, like, literally everyone at our station was like, it'd be so great if you came out and homered, like, tonight. And everyone's like, yeah, of course it would.
And then just blasted out of here.
I don't even know how this happens. Blame a catcher, blame the pitcher. Like, a middle fastball. Like, what are we thinking? It's so stupid. So I don't know how Nick Pavetta felt about that one, but
almost scripted.
Yeah, it's great to have Acuna back, and just ready to join you guys, have some fun, and chat some sports, man. How are you guys doing?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Like I was saying, took the girls today to Unity Park, and they got to go to the splash pad, and they had a blast. And then of course we took them downtown Greenville and had some ice cream, which I got a good question about that with you guys in a little bit. But just had a good time. Today was Cassie's official last day teaching. Wednesday will be her last official day of the school year. They got to make up the days because of Hurricane Helene. But it's been fun, but can't complain. I've been looking forward to this episode. I'm always looking forward to getting talking to you, man. It's so much fun talking with you. We have great content. My favorite though, by far, is the last short you and I had when I said, isn't it interesting about you find these things? And you said, no, you find these things and you find little John in the basement of his mom's apartment or whatever. I crack up on that short every time. So what's been going on in the Abe Gordon world, sir?
No, I mean, look, since the last time I've talked to you, the Falcons finally have done the thing that we've talked about them never doing, and that is address the pass rush. Now, try to address the pass rush. So, like, things are pretty positive on the Falcons front, and we'll see what goes on from there. Hawks are heading towards an interesting offseason. And we'll see if they can make a step and make a move and do something significant. And kind of like everyone, man, just kind of enjoying baseball season until football season's here, because it's going to be a really fun football season, college and pro. But everything's been good. It's Atlanta, starting to heat up. I'm sure as well too. So
yes,
I have to deal with that. Like a moron, I procrastinate in the morning and don't run, which means I run when I get home from work when it's the hottest part of the day, 88, 90 degrees. But it's good for you.
absolutely. Hey, shout out to everybody in Texas and the surrounding areas who are listening to us on Tiger Nation Alive. Cannot wait to hear you guys reacting on that one. Hey, all right. So I gotta ask. Go ahead.
Hey, before we go in, I don't know what you're talking about. I woke up this morning; it was 46 degrees.
This guy,
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Not here, not recently. It actually was like 60 degrees earlier this week in the morning, but by the time I got home from work, it was back to 84. We're like, here we go. So
Hey, it's
Yeah.
the sun, I'm right.
Here's the thing about the mountains. When the sun comes up, it's whatever temperature is forecasted. When the sun goes down, it's whatever temperature is forecasted.
Yep.
That's how it is in the mountains.
That's right.
yeah.
Ain't that the truth? So, Abe, I got to ask you. Obviously, you saw the game last night. Indiana, and the New York Knicks taking on, and we saw them for the ever famous Reggie Miller symbol take place with Halliburton. What do you think about that? And also, do you think the Knicks even have a chance? I mean, luck be a lady just coming along with the Pacers with that crazy bounce by Halliburton. But what do you think? Do you think the Knicks have a chance, or do you think this is just the Pacers' year?
No, I think the Knicks absolutely have a chance. I mean, I don't think the Pacers can count on Nesmith hitting 8 threes, including 5 in the last 3 minutes. I think you had to have a lot of things go right. That doesn't mean I'm counting the Pacers out either. You know, I just think the Knicks are going to have an answer. They're going to have a response here. I think they're going to win tonight, as a matter of fact, but we'll keep an eye on that as this one tips off in a couple of minutes. But no, I think they're good enough. They have enough support around Jalen Brunson to make this a really good series. But it is fascinating, some of the comebacks that the Pacers have been able to complete over the course of the NBA playoffs. I wouldn't necessarily be making mocking gestures in game 1, like game 3, game 4. If you're taking a 3-1 lead, maybe some game 1's a little nice. And like respect to Halliburton in the moment. And live, I thought it was a 3, right? So I don't know how you guys saw it. But live, I thought it was a 3. And as the Pacers are celebrating, I look at the score bug.
It looked like his foot was on the line.
2 on this. Like, what's going on? I'm like, did they rule that a 2? They'll review it and give them a 3 and game's over. It'll be anticlimactic because you don't want to have the game end on a review, whatever. And it went the other way. They reviewed it, and it was a 2. They were accurate on that. I'm like, oh, my God, this guy sat there and did, like, the choke sign. The game's over. He's pointing at Reggie Miller. You got 5 minutes, dude. You better ball out the next 5 minutes. Don't lose it in overtime. And they didn't. To be fair, they didn't and finish that out. It was a little weird because it's not quite as iconic as it could be. Because if that shot's a 3 in a game winner and it's a real dagger, it's even much more to the higher power. But I think they're in for a real series still.
It's iconic if they pull through though. Like it
is, but it's still it was just to send the game into overtime.
Yeah.
It's just different things, you know. I don't think you see that many movies who write up a game-winning shot, and that's how it plays out. That's
all nothing and just flops right.
Yeah. But I do think the Knicks have some responses here.
Yeah, I think the closest thing you get to that is Friday Night Lights when they don't win the championship game.
Do as much as you can not to win. Exactly. You know. It was one of those shots you're like, oh my gosh, did that really go in? But yeah, it was insane. So all right. So Abe, I've seen a lot of these quote experts that one person said the Falcons were going to start 0-7. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Atlanta's going to be one of the most surprising franchises. You just said that yourself, the Falcons have finally done something notable. Everybody knows Terry does not like to draft defense. He absolutely hates it. But I'm not gonna I'm not going to discredit for you're still going to have your rocky terms, right, for this year. But what do you see happening with the Falcons? Could the Falcons realistically go 11-6, 12-5? I mean, heck, even 10-7.
I think they could, but I also think they could go like 6-11. And I'm going to talk about this more on the show I'm doing on Monday here in Atlanta. I think the Falcons are the biggest wild card in the entire league. I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing. I think you have questions at quarterback. I think there's confidence at quarterback, but it's a guy that's only played 3 games, and they want 1 and 2 in those games. So I do think you have some questions at quarterback. We say we've addressed the pass rush, right? You spent 2 first-round picks. You traded back in to get James Pierce. You had Jalen Walker fall into your laps. That's all great. Are they going to make plays? Are they going to do what they're required to do? And so there's all these promises of like, if this happens, and if they're top half of the league in the pass rush, and if Penix is just an average quarterback, 13th, 15th, 17th in the NFL in terms of quality and statistics, where's this team going to be, right? And assuming you stay healthy, like if all the what ifs are positive what ifs, this is like a 12 or 13 win team. Like it really is. Probably not all the what ifs are going to be positive, right? And so it's probably in that 10-11 range on the plus side, maybe 9. And then if more of the what ifs turn out to be false, Kyle Pitts can't figure it out, and Bijan gets hurt, and there's no pass rush, and then you could realistically still be like a 5 or 6 win team. I think the Falcons have the biggest range of like what their floor is and what their ceiling is in the entire NFL. And I know it's not answering your question here, Brandon. I have them like on the hopefully positive 10 or 11 wins, but I would not be surprised if it's more. I would not be surprised if it's less. It's really, really difficult to tell. They got an early bye week. It's week 5. The 4 games before the bye week are difficult. They are tough. I think you'll know by the time you hit the bye week if the Falcons are headed for like, hey, they're going to win the South and they're going to have like 11, 12 wins, or they're going to really be in a fight for a wild card. Maybe they get there, but 8 or 9 wins is probably getting their GM fired. So I think within the first 4 games, you're going to know.
So,
Abe, what do you think is like the X factor on both sides of the ball for the Falcons? To me, I feel like it's the secondary and receivers. What do you think?
Yeah, with respect to questions in the secondary, it's still pass rush. It just has to be. They've been so bad at the pass rush that if that's good, I think the secondary is going to get taken care of. And I know we talk about them addressing the needs in the pass rush, signing Leonard Floyd and the 2 first-round draft picks. They have added some pieces in the draft that they think will fit in the secondary. I love their selection of safety Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. I think if that guy is coming in day 1 to start alongside Jesse Bates, Billy Bowman Jr., 3rd most interceptions over the past couple of seasons there. As Acuna gets a 2nd straight hit. Bravo. But Billy Bowman, they drafted. He was specifically a safety in college. He's going to be moved to nickel corner. That was with intent. And so I like the idea that they're making moves with intent. It's still a pass rush. And the biggest question on offense is still Michael Penix. Like, we saw flashes, right? And those are the things you hold on to when you're saying, hey, this guy has it. This is the franchise guy. You go back to the leadership. You go back to that pass to Kyle Pitts at the end of the game, near the end of the game against the Commanders. And you go back to those sorts of moments. You're like, hey, man, this guy can make plays. There's no doubt about that. And the arm is not a question, but he's young. And I think that's the big question, is he's going to make mistakes. I think we saw passes, bad decisions that were not necessarily punished in the 3 games a year ago. Do they get punished this year? If so, it's going to be a little bit bumpy ride. But if he cleans up his decision-making, if he gets on the same page with everyone, and I think having a full offseason as QB1 is massive, massive, massive towards that. But if he turns out and it immediately is the guy that we all think he is, the guy that they're like, hey, this is the guy that we have on our board. We're taking him for a reason. We're in love with him, and he's our franchise. If he turns out to be that guy relatively quickly, that's the wild card, though. If he's that guy, then this offense can be one of the top 5 or 7 offenses in the NFL.
Cool.
What do you think about Kobe Bryant? Do you think he is actually So
Yeah,
many people at Menifee's a
I
steal
loved him in
too.
college. Yeah, I think it's an outstanding pickup. And from what we've heard and read, there was a huge battle between multiple teams to pull him in as a UDFA as he wasn't selected. So, big fan of him. But at the same time, I'm not going to overstate. If you're relying on Kobe Bryant this year in the secondary, something's gone wrong with respect to his skill set. You hope that's a depth piece. You hope that's special teams playmaker, stuff like that as he develops.
A good coach once said, if fans and butts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a merry little Christmas. Shout out to Vince Lombardi for that. So, you're right. We can live if we live in the land of what ifs.
That ifs and buts comment, but
yes,
we'll leave
absolutely.
that for another podcast.
Absolutely. So, Abe, I got to ask you this, and my good friend John right here is absolutely, he's biting at the bush to tell us what is going on with United. I mean, is it too much of a good thing with the talent, or is it just the management?
No, it's a lot of things all going wrong altogether. Let's start here. Miguel Almiron is not good enough. He has not been good enough this season. We pull him in, right? He's a club hero going back to the early years of this club. He's been gone. He's older, and he's not the same player. He can't rely on speed anymore, and that allows defenders to play him differently. And we just haven't seen the brilliance that we saw in previous outings this year. So it starts with him not being good enough. And then it goes to, and I don't think they still know what is the best formation, who is the best lineup, starting 11, who's your super sub. I think there's a lot of issues that they haven't figured out. A lot of that's because of injury. They haven't really been able to test out that many varieties constantly because of some of the injuries. I think more recently they've gone to 5 in the back with 3 center backs. I think that's been a big help for them. It's at least solidified them defensively. They can't finish, Brandon. And it's not about the lack of chances. They're creating chances on par with the teams they're facing. Ronnie Dyla spoke today. No, he spoke yesterday. And it was today because they're playing Sunday. So he spoke today, and he was talking about like the amount of chances that they're creating and the amount of goals that they're scoring. Like on legitimate chances, they're scoring 1 out of 5 times. Their opponents are scoring 2.5 out of 5 times on them. And you can see the disparity there when you create 60 chances and you have 9 goals. Your opponent creates 60 chances and they have 24 goals, right? And so they've cleaned a little bit of that up defensively, but they're just not tactical. They're not, or excuse me, not tactical is the wrong word. They're not clinical in the box. I mean, Jamal Tiare last week, he was starting for Latte Loth due to match compression up top. Wide open header. I mean, the keeper's near bar. You have the entire goal to put this thing in, and he puts it wide. I mean, you eventually go on and give a PK off a misplay to Philly, and they win 1-0. Ty Baribo puts it home. That's a winnable game. You should have been up 1-0. And that whole game plays itself out differently. And they have outplayed opponents at times this season and not been rewarded with goals, not been rewarded with points. It's been an absolute dreadful season. And they're 2 games, I think, from the halfway point of the MLS season. And they're one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the entire league. And I still think there's an opportunity to turn it around. I still think if they can figure themselves out, they can be good. But I have lost not that there's no confidence, no optimism. I've lost confidence they actually will figure it out. The talent's there. The finishing is not. The communication and chemistry is not, and I don't know if it will be.
Go ahead, John.
So okay, I have a few questions. So what would you say with the summer transfer window coming up? What is the biggest needs for Atlanta United? Because I seem to think that they don't have a midfield that's physical enough to dominate possession. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting because you have Alexei Miranchuk, who you're now asking to be more of a 6, and
right.
You didn't originally bring him in to be a 6. You brought him in to be part of the attack, and you're asking him to play a little bit deeper. To answer your question, I don't think there's any like one specific thing. I actually think Miranchuk has played pretty well. I just I know this sounds dumb, and the toughest part for Ronnie Dyla, the manager, is there's not really a way to coach this or manage this. They've got to finish chances. And
Right.
like, how do you do that, right? How do you be better at finishing opportunities that you have? I don't know if that's something you can bring in. Now, if you were to ask me, like, dream scenario, you would move on from people. I don't think it's realistic to move on from Miggy. If you're asking
Right.
me, like, great, no,
Transfer.
I mean, just being honest, he hasn't been good enough. I don't think he's going to be good enough. If you're asking me, I would try and move him with the idea that he wanted to go back home and sell him back there, but like that's not going to happen. I
Right.
understand it's not going to happen, but like
Because you invested.
realistically, he hasn't been good enough, and I would start there.
Yeah, because you invested so much.
Yeah,
So
of
would
course.
you say
Financially, it's not possible. From the club history and the fan sentiment, it's probably not possible. But honestly, the root, I think, of your issues right now, and it's not all him. Don't get me wrong. But the root is you're counting on him to be one of the 3 or 4 best players in the MLS, and he's simply not.
right? So what is the? I know XG can be a very tricky number to go on. I don't know what you're. I don't know what you think about that, but like, what does expected XG tell us about United? Because like, I know that sometimes that can tell us if it's just a bit of being unlucky, or
Right.
if it can just be they're not. The chances are just poor chances, right? What do you think what is that telling us exactly?
Yeah, I think, truthfully, XG is one of the absolute worst, most putrid stats in all of sports.
Thank you.
It's just wildly inefficient, if we're going to be honest. But I will say this: like if you do want to break it down to like, here's the and for those who aren't soccer aficionados, XG is expected goals. I have my own stat that goes by my own initials, AG. That's actual goals. That's the only one that actually matters, okay? But if you do compare, and this is what you're talking about, you compare the XG to the AG, right? Your expected goals to your actual goals and see the disparity and try and build from that. It's not new. Last year was like 3-1, Atlanta's XG and actual goals scored. It was a real problem that has continued this year. Now, I do think that XG and how they add up and what is a chance and what is the expected output on a certain strike or a certain take versus that was a great save or this or that.
Right.
I think that just the number itself is wildly inefficient.
Agreed.
But yeah, their XG is way above how many goals they've actually scored. It's a problem. Like I said, Ronnie Dyla is talking about they're finishing 1 in 5 chances. I'm not talking about like 5 times they get into the attacking third. I'm talking about like defined scoring chances, and they're just not good enough. Some of it's mishits, some of it's great saves, and some of it is just bad luck, as you mentioned. Ricochets off a post, something like that. They got to find a way to be better, though. I think, and I've always felt this way. I don't know how you feel. I've always felt this way. Start by taking shots from further out. Start by taking more shots. I've seen guys mishit it upper 90. You get deflections. You get stuff that ricochets out for corner and puts you in a set piece. Take more shots. I also think the further out you can rip from, they have to respect and defend, and that can open up some stuff in behind. And so I just don't think they're taking enough shots. I don't think they're taking enough shots on goal. I'm an Arsenal fan. Arsenal's tried to play the old Barcelona style where you walk a ball in, right? Doesn't work. If you're not Barcelona, it doesn't work. Stop walking the ball into the box. Try and rip some shots, see what happens, open some stuff up, and go from there. So I would like to see a little bit more of that from Atlanta United. It feels like Latte Loth is not getting great service, and that's part of the issue as well.
So I'm a Borough fan, right? I'm a Middlesbrough fan.
Okay.
So I hated to see him leave, but I'm glad he's in a good place. How do you think he's fitting there in Atlanta? I think he's been great. Is it tactics that's he's not getting the service that he needs? Because he can be a very target forward style player when he needs to be, because he's so long and lanky. But he's also fast enough to be an advanced forward. Do you think it's tactical, or is it just chemistry, or is it just all the above?
Yeah, chemistry and communication is a massive problem. And I don't think, to the tactics perspective, I don't think they've taken advantage of trying to find him in space where he can run to a ball. Not that you're sitting here old school England playing long balls all the time, but I just don't think they've figured that out. I do think last game, now he was on the bench in the first half. It was Jamal Touré, as I referenced, because of match compression. He came on in the second half, and I expect him to start on Sunday Night Soccer against Cincinnati. I do think that last week's game was the most connected the front four has been, and I'm interested to see how that looks with him out there as well. I think he got off to a great start. I think he's a great finisher. I think he's deadly on corners and deadly on set pieces. And I think service has absolutely let him down. I think communication and chemistry has been a problem, but I will say this. There have also been times where Brooks Lennon is looking to serve one in, and Latte Loth is hanging out at the top of the box, not making the run. And so I think part of that is on him. Part of that is he's got to be committed. But I think he's an outstanding goal scorer. And I think that if they can figure it out outside of him, he will take off. I really do feel that he is a weapon that has not been totally unleashed.
I would agree, because we missed him as soon as he left. You guys are just having the most Middlesbrough season, and I feel bad for you.
So, Abe, obviously, we've got to figure out what's going on with that. But, let's switch up to another Atlanta team, the Atlanta Braves. We're seeing something. Maybe, Shane kind of hit the nail on the head about, is it scripted? The fact that Ronald Acuna comes back. He's now 2 for 2, batting 1,000, by the way.
Ronald Acuna's return to the MLB, brought to you by the same people who orchestrated the draft lottery.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So but what? I mean, look, any team that will tell you, if they play against the two hardest teams really in any sport, to start out the season on the road and go 0-7. It's not impossible. It's not implausible. It can happen. But the fact that Brandon Gaudin came out and said, Atlanta made MLB history. They're the fastest team to go start 0-7 and come back to 500. And they're only the 6th team ever to start a season 0-7 and make it to 500.
Let's go.
What do you think the odds are that Atlanta can continue on that road to history? Could they actually win the division? Could they maybe win the pennant? Could they even win the World Series?
Yeah, I just... You look at the start and what was going right and what was going wrong and where you are now. And I just think they're ready to take off. It's an incredibly difficult schedule. 8 of their next 10 series, including 2 against the Phillies, 2 against the Mets. But 8 of their next 10 are against teams that are above them or right where they are in the standings. Some of these teams are leading their divisions. Some of these teams are in wild card spots. Some of these teams are fighting for wild card spots, but are above 500, which the Braves right now are not. And I just think they're ready to take off. And some of the early season issues, look, Chris Sale was dreadful early on. He is absolutely rounded into form that saw him win a Cy Young last year. He looks great. AJ Smith-Shawver looks great. I know he had a bumpy start the other night. It's going to happen, man. Like he's not the number one yet. He's not an ace yet, but you see the potential there. I think he's going to rebound just fine. You get Spencer Strider back. He's not sharp. That's okay. We expected that, really, if you're considering a 3.5-week layoff after one start in which there was a nearly 5, 6, 7 month layoff. So I just think you're rounding into the team you can be, the team that was amongst the favorites to win the World Series. And I just think that you're in a good position. Can you catch the Mets, catch the Phillies, win the division? It's possible, but I'm not necessarily relying on that. I'm shocked still at how well the Mets have played. I thought their rotation would be a real issue. It hasn't been. If anything, the rotation has been the strength, and Juan Soto and the offense has been a problem. The Phillies are the Phillies, man. They're just tough. Look, this suspension for their reliever, I think, is going to be a big deal. We talk about some of the concerns with the Atlanta Braves bullpen. I think the Phillies are heading towards that with the 80-game suspension that they're dealing with. So I do think the Braves can round into form and get hot, but it needs to happen now, because if not, 8 of these next 10 series, they could be buried. There's no doubt about that. That being said, I think in terms of the playoffs and the World Series, and Brandon, I know I've texted you about this, it's just get there and get hot at the right time. And there's so much potential on this team to be so good if they're hot at the right time. Because if you're sitting here telling me that you've got Cy Young, Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, and then either A.J. Smith-Shawver or Grant Holmes getting hot, along with the offense getting hot, they are going to be as dangerous potentially as the Dodgers or as the Padres, who they're playing tonight, or as the Mets. I just think they have a lineup that's so. I mean, if you get Ozzie and Michael Harris going in the bottom half of that lineup, along with Riley and Olsen and Acuna and Ozuna, it's just as scary as the Dodgers lineup. It really is. And so, look, I think it's a bit of luck. I think baseball's always a bit of luck. Who's hot at the right time? I think they could be that team this year that kind of has to fight all season, and maybe they win the division. Maybe they're in the wild card spot. But I think their best baseball certainly is ahead of them.
Shane, go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, we see Snit, man. He's a great manager and everything, but of course he graduated from the school of Bobby Cox.
Yeah.
I see it as a hindrance on what they're doing right now with their pitching rotation, especially once they go to the bullpen, because Bobby Cox was this, Snit's the same way. If they're within 1 to 3 runs, they're going to send these 3 guys out here. If they're ahead 4 runs, they're going to send these 3 guys out here. If they're behind 4 runs, they're going to send these 3 guys out here. Do you think that kind of with what we've seen lately with the late inning kind of runs that we've given up when we've gained the lead for our starters, do you see that kind of being a hindrance to the team, and kind of does Snit need to kind of move on from that and just go with the hot hand like a lot of managers are doing now?
I think there's a couple things. The first thing I would say is there are a couple of games here or there where I look back and I'm like, boy, Snit mismanaged the bullpen the last 3 games to really set you up in a bad position here in this 4th game. And like, I recall a game a couple of days ago where like Iglesias and Daysbel Hernandez were both off limits, untouchable, because they had pitched 2 or 3 nights in a row. And it just, you got to think ahead and you got to find a way around that. I do think he's limited with like 3 guys that he trusts, Iglesias being one of them, who I know a lot of Braves fans aren't really trusting right now. But it's kind of like Daysbel Hernandez, Pierce Johnson, Dylan. Let's throw Dylan Lee in there as well, and Iggy. And so I think there's some situations where, like, if a pitcher like A.J. Smith-Shawver or Spencer Strider, if they're not into the 6th or 7th inning, it's a little bit problematic. So I understand what you're saying. At the same time, I don't really know how you would manage that much differently. Like, I think we've seen games where Montero's been great, and we've seen games where Montero's been terrible. And I think we've seen games where Eniel de los Santos have been great and been terrible. You can't ride the whole season trusting only 4 guys. You have to allow those guys and just hope for the best. I think we've seen some good stuff out of Scott Blewett as well at times, especially in a couple of extra inning games a week or 2 ago. But I don't know. I understand the question. I don't think there's that much different a different manager would do. And same thing with like some of the other concerns about why isn't this guy taking a different approach at the plate, or some of the hitting issues. I know Ozzie had been going through it. Michael Harris has been going through it. Although hopefully they're turning the corner a little bit right now. I don't know, like, we're just going to blame the manager for players not doing their jobs. Look, I'll say this in regards to Snit here, Shane. It's just, I wouldn't be surprised if this is his last season. I wouldn't be surprised if he does step away after the season. He's not a sort of guy that's like, give me the year-long tour. So if that's the decision, that might just pop up like after the season. I appreciate the time. It's 70 years in the game, or whatever, 50 years with the Braves, whatever it is. Much respect and all that. But I would not be surprised if this is the last year. but I'm not placing blame on him. It's been a tough start to the season. I don't know if it's a managerial thing compared to players haven't really been up to task yet. And hopefully they turn the corner now that Ronald Acuna's back.
Now you really into Hollywood right now with Snit walking off in the off season after winning. Acuna's come back 3 days.
Look, I'm not even talking about like they win the World Series and he walks away. They could get eliminated in the first round. I really do think there's a chance that this is his last season, no matter how it plays out.
Why do you think that?
I understand that. I was just making that Hollywood script a little more scrumptious.
Why do you think it's his last year? Because I
don't necessarily do. I just think there's a chance that it could be. I think the criticism is increasing. He is getting older, and at any point, still married to his wife. Might want to spend some years there. It just the criticism is increasing. I think there is pressure at some point from the franchise, especially depending on how the postseason goes, to be like, hey, man, like we won the World Series and we took step back and step back and step back. And the Braves are certainly not going to fire him, right? Like, I think he's done enough to do lifetime contract bits, but they might give a strong suggestion of, hey, man, we really don't want to have this discussion. It'd be great if you go enjoy,
early retirement
away from the game, stuff like that. When you're like 70 something, there's no early retirement. But
fair enough.
Joe, do you have a question?
Again, that's just a possibility. It's more that I wouldn't be surprised that I'm like he's going to step away. It's certainly not a definitive statement.
Well,
right. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's right. I do have a question though, and I guess I want to say in words, what do you think about the dumpster fire in Baltimore?
Well, the one thing that's really shocked me is some of the steps backwards that some of their prospects have taken. Like Adley Rutschman seemed like 2 years ago, he was like, in 2 years, this guy's going to be the best catcher in baseball. We're now 2 years later, and that guy's definitely not the best catcher in baseball. I saw a suggestion today that they send him down to the minors to figure stuff out. I mean, so I think they have been betrayed a little bit by prospects letting them down here and there. They're always betrayed by the money the team is, or more so is not willing to spend. Again, like we talk about concerns with the Braves and is it Brian Snitker's fault? Like your team's bad, man. Like it's not really a manager's fault. And so Hyde and all that, it's you're in the probably historically, in my opinion, the toughest division in baseball, at least since 2008, right? Like when the Rays first got good, you're still dealing with the Yankees and Red Sox. It's just a difficult division. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's many places to go. It's just if you're not going to spend and you're just hoping prospect after prospect after prospect works out, it's not how it goes, man. Like the Astros had first round pick after first round pick like 3 straight years, and they made good selections and it worked out. But it still wasn't until they pulled in some money and spent and bring in Verlander on a high price 8, all that stuff till they were really themselves. It's just tough. And I think you're going to find that out with the White Sox too. I think you're going to find that out with the Marlins. I think you're going to find that out with some of these teams. Like you can fire the managers all you want. Like the players aren't any better right now. That's a franchise thing. That's not a manager how they're coached issue.
Well, I do get that. So let me ask you this question. I guess it's a hypothetical question in a sense. If you bring in a different manager, do the players increase, decrease, or stay stagnant?
Probably stay stagnant. I mean, maybe you have a different hitting coach that can work on something different, but there's also potential that he's not any better. I just think that the conglomeration of players aren't that great.
I do agree with you in a sense. The only thing that I disagree with, once again, in a sense, hypothetically, is if a guy comes in and let's say a Chihuahua wants to pull down a fence. You know what I mean? Like, do we have that it factor in there
for the Orioles?
Really, for anybody?
I definitely don't see it with the Orioles.
I know on the Orioles, but I'm saying anybody though. Honestly, is there an it
I think it's
factor out
pretty
there?
rare. If we're going to be honest, I think it's pretty rare.
Okay, all right.
For a manager to be holding back a team that much, right?
Okay.
And you're talking about on the fringe differences, some decisions that maybe. I mean, but like, what is a manager good for? Like 3 wins a year in terms of 5 maybe. In terms of how you manage things and your decision path through that, what is a good hitting coach versus a bad hitting coach? Where maybe another 3? Like I just don't think you're taking something and changing out the manager and you're like, we're 30 games better now. Like it's just baseball is the one sport. I mean, I'm going to say this on a macro discussion, right? Because you can call a hit and run or you can call a sack bunt, but like baseball's the one sport that isn't really run with plays being designed, right? It's about the individuals, man. Like I've always said this, and some people understand it, some people don't. I think you guys are smart enough; you probably will get it. Baseball is actually an individual sport masquerading as a team sport, right?
Yes.
It's hitter versus batter. It's one-on-one, and everyone else is part of it a little bit, but really it's about the outcome of 1v1.
Okay.
And so I just don't think the manager has that much say. Again, beyond, like Shane pointed out, a little bit of bullpen discussion, stuff like that. I just don't think there's that drastic a difference between what a team will or won't be with the best manager in baseball or the worst manager in baseball.
I feel like Dusty Baker's a perfect example of a manager that got way too much crap for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think NBA, in my opinion, and I'd call see, the thing about the NFL coaches is, at least offensively, it's about the play caller. It's not even about your head coach if he's not the play
Right.
caller. I think in the NBA, you see the biggest difference between good head coach, bad head coach. I think you saw Mark Jackson replaced with Steve Kerr. Team becomes a dynasty. And with all due respect to Mark Jackson, who started that whole thing, they weren't going to do that. Quite frankly, I think you see in Boston with Joe Mazzulla, that's a bad coach that lost the team a series they should have won. A better coach has them getting past the Knicks and probably playing OKC for a second consecutive NBA championship this year. That didn't happen. And so I think in the NBA, you can have bad coaches really bring down a team. I think that's what Joe Mazzulla did. I don't think you have that in baseball.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Now, Abe, obviously we've had a blast having you on, man. Thank you so much again for tuning on again. I really do appreciate it, man. And, let's go. I'm going to let you go and enjoy the evening and the weekend, but what is going on? What is on Abe's plate this weekend so everybody can know where they can catch you?
Yeah, well, we were talking about Atlanta United. They're part of Sunday Night Soccer on Apple TV, but on the radio, 92.9 The Game here in Atlanta, I've got pregame coverage for you starting at 6 o'clock. I'll be back for the postgame show. Let's see, somewhere around like 9:50-ish, something like that. So we got a lot going on there. And then Monday on Memorial Day, I'm hosting 2 to 6 on 92.9 The Game as well. So looking forward to that. Got a lot of interesting topics. I'm hitting Braves, I'm hitting Falcons, I'm hitting Hawks, and college football, all pretty heavy there. So it should be a fun discussion.
Speaking of Atlanta Hawks, make sure you tune in next Tuesday. Bob Rathman is actually going to join our show for 15 minutes. I'm kind of a kid at a candy store. I grew up listening and watching him with the Stinger, so it's going to be really exciting to have him on. But Abe, thank you, man. Have a good weekend, and let's make these Atlanta Braves. Let's turn the cheek and actually start beating everybody, and let's get it going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think Acuna's got his third at bat coming up in just a couple of minutes, assuming Sale gets out of this inning at some point. But it's nice to have him back, win or lose tonight. I think this feels like the start of the season. You're only a game below 500, but you got Strider, you got Acuna, everything else is rolling through. It feels like this is kind of the start of the season, and hopefully they can really turn it on right now.
Absolutely. Abe, take care of yourself, man. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, brother?
Hey, thanks, fellas. Shane, always a pleasure. Brandon, we'll see you.
Hey, we'll see you. Hey, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Guys, that was actually a fantastic interview with Abe. All right, so, I want to continue on the conversations because you know, Shane, you know this. We have a lot of great content that comes about, and I'm excited about this. But college baseball, man, college softball, just college spring / quote summer sports, they're coming to an end. Obviously, they're at the pivotal point right now. You know, we saw South Carolina win their first super regional game today. We saw Clemson has a chance if they win tonight. This would be the first time they've ever advanced to Oklahoma City in softball. We saw Clemson baseball is now in the semifinals. You know, we're seeing teams like, I mean, we got to also give a quick shout out to the University of Hawaii. They're in the elimination bracket. They have to win 4 straight, obviously, to get to the regionals. But, you know, like, I want to hear your thoughts on this, starting with you, Shane. Like, what are your thoughts on the collegiate softball and baseball world right now?
Man, I can tell you, softball, I could not stay up last night to watch that Clemson Texas game.
You're the only one.
It was top of the first. It was 1-0, and I think that was at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, the game didn't start back up again. So they didn't start, they went on a lightning delay after the second at bat, and then it didn't come back on until almost 11 o'clock. And I was like, I can't do this.
Oh yeah, well, but that gave me time to watch Clemson and NC State play. That was a great quarterfinal game that they had in the ACC tournament there in Durham. But Clemson pulled it out there at the end. A couple heated pitchers going at it.
Just to say a little bit, right?
Yeah, which was fun to see. But man, all this around everything, man, it's great to see. You know, the camaraderie that you see between these athletes. You know, we see it now with the NIL and the way it is that not many athletes are staying there for that true one school kind of experience, like you see in the smaller sports, as in baseball, softball kind of deal, where you go to this, you commit to this one school and you stay there. Normally now with NIL and conglomerates where they distribute the money throughout all the sports, depending on the percentage grab and all that. You know, something people a lot smarter than me get paid to do. But you know, you see this and just the camaraderie in the sport. You know, as you see these Clemson girls, this is their
sixth season.
Yeah, sixth season, first possible trip, right?
Yep. They got their first super regional win ever last night. Well, technically this morning our time, but yeah, the first one they've ever gotten.
Yeah, and then Carolina winning was great to hear as well. So man, it's just great to see. I'm really interested to see how the seeding in the men's bracket goes with the regionals and everything else, because after about the 5-6 seed, there's not a lot of disparity between that 6-7 seed to that 16 seed. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm interested to see, especially how everything plays out, because you know, Clemson was looking at hosting a regional. Say they win the ACC, do you push them ahead? And now, are they a high enough seed to host a super?
That's a very real that's a good question. And, you know, obviously, you know, I want to give a quick shout out to Texas Tech. Yeah, they spent pretty good money on that NIL deal with their pitcher for softball, but they won their first regional. They won their first super regional. They are going to OKC for the first time ever in Texas Tech history. They knocked off Florida State today 2-1 to basically sweep the series. So
Nadjeri's a real deal.
She's legit. She is.
I said the last episode.
Pitcher. Yes, you did. You absolutely did. She is a fantastic. And here's the cool thing. So she left Stanford. John, if you don't know this, the pitcher for Texas Tech, she was a lights out pitcher. I mean, she was a dominant pitcher at Stanford, and she left to go to Texas Tech so she can have the ability not only to pitch but also to hit. And yeah, she had a home run in their win last night against FSU, and she pitched a complete game, 79 pitch game shutout against Florida State. They won again today, 2-1. They have advanced. It's just an amazing aptitude to tip your caps to them. Right now, I'm actually watching Nebraska and Tennessee. Tennessee is the host of the Super Regional, and Nebraska is up 5-1. So it just goes to show anybody can win at any given time. I do want to tag this question up by Trey, and I want to ask you too, John. And when Shane and Jody come back, I want to ask, and everybody watching the show, I want you to kind of tune in as well. Do you guys think Atlanta will host a WrestleMania again? Obviously, New Orleans lost the host city rights for next year, and it's going back to Vegas. Gosh, I wish Hank were on there. Hank, if you're listening, man, tune in. Answer that question, Retreat, because you're our WrestleMania guy. I want to hear your thoughts on this as well. But what do you think about that question, John?
Oh, I mean, I'm not the biggest WrestleMania guy, but I feel like it would be cool if you could have different cities host it instead of just Vegas all the time. I think, giving exposure to different cities and letting them experience it because it's becoming such a huge sport right now, and I don't think its popularity has ever been better than right now. And so giving it exposure in different cities would definitely be something. And Atlanta's one of the bigger cities in the country, so I mean, why not?
Absolutely. And look, Atlanta. Oh, she didn't tag. She's out. Atlanta, absolutely up. Hey, Matt just chimed in. It's killing me. I can't beat Hope all as well. Yeah, Matt, he actually just left. So close. But hey, let's ask you this question then right here too, Matt, since you're on there. Shane, I want you to answer this question too. First off, Shane, will you let everybody know we are about to have a new segment? It's going to be on during this summer only. Shane, would you let everybody know what it is and let everybody know what the name is going to be?
Oh yeah, well, this summer with everything going on, especially football wise, with OTAs and training camps, and maybe a little bit of spring practices and stuff, kind of going into the summer workouts for these college programs. But we're going to have a new segment out. It's going to be called Training Days with the Sportz Nutz. So it's going to come on once a week. It's going to be 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour sometimes, getting closer up to the end of the season that we would have with this segment per se, but getting close to the actual season for football starting. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll get all kinds of questions. We're going to try to get as many views from as many training camps, mini camps, whatever we can reach out to and get as many views in. Hey, you might even see some of the Sportz Nutz at these training camps and all as well. So, we're very looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a very, very cool deal for the Sportz Nutz and all of our fans in general.
Absolutely. Look, right now we have the Buccaneers who have agreed. We have some people who are with the Buccaneers who have agreed to come on and tell us what they have seen, heard, and experienced while at training camp. We have Shane, which he is going to most likely be going to the Carolina Panthers training camps. Matt and myself, we'll try to go to at least one, if not more than one, of the Atlanta Falcons. I have some people who are talking to me about the potential for the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Stay tuned for that one. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. We cannot wait for that one. All right, so I want to go back, obviously, to what we talked about last episode with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Shane, John, everybody who's watching. Brandon Shannon is out finally after 11 years as the Toronto Maple Leafs president. Remember, I even asked you guys, what could we do to, could there be an absolute overhaul? And it looks like it's about to happen. But Shane, do you think we're in store to see even more significant changes for Toronto, or are we just going to see what Toronto does every year and look pretty on paper, but look really bad everywhere else?
I'm not sure. With the talent that they have already, there in Toronto, I think that they're set up to, be that consistent playoff run team. Oh, excuse me. But it's kind of like we see with Carolina right now. They're getting blown out left and right in this Eastern Conference Finals, but yet they're consistent enough to be in that first round, second round, if not the conference round playoff contention every year with their coach, and they've had him 17 seasons now. I believe that we've seen some front office change there in Carolina during that time as well. So I don't see it being a coaching switch, as much as people say that. I can't even. I don't even know his name, to be honest with you. But the coach, how he mismanaged the talent that he was given and stuff like that. I don't see the coach, as Abe pointed out too, in baseball, and to the manager. I don't see the coach or the manager for a hockey team being as instrumental. We talk about rotations in baseball. Shift lines in hockey are the same kind of deal.
Oh my gosh. And if you mess up that one, and John can tell you this too, and you know this too, Shane, you mess up one line shift, and I mean, it only takes one, and your whole game plan, your whole game routine has completely gone down the drain, and you have no way to build it back up in time. And yeah, you have 3 periods, but you may have messed up that line so many times in the first period. You go to the second period, you're formulating, how can I build it back up? Then you start to, but then you know what? It's too late. The team that you're facing could be doing what Carolina has been having done to them. They're down. They've given up 10 goals to just their 2. And by the way, Carolina's on a 14-game Eastern Conference final losing streak, which is that's mind blowing.
But it reminds me a lot like Tampa Bay. Of course, I forget what year it is. No, I'm calm down. Calm down. I'm going to say a few years ago when they won the first Stanley Cup of their 2 and whatever those 3 years.
They won back-to-back Stanley Cups.
Their first one that they won. The coach, manager, whatever you want to call him, I'm not sure the proper name.
Coach.
So
they call him a coach.
But the coach, he actually changed up some of his line, members and personnel in those lines, kind of what it was going to as far as the flow of the game and how these players work together throughout the playoffs. And I think that's what took them over the edge. And I think, kind of what I alluded to with Snit and the Bobby Cox mentality, some of these things, especially in the playoffs, when it comes, kind of glaring that you have this one line issue or a certain shift that changed that doesn't work out particularly well in these situations, that, the coach has to, realize that and say, okay, well, y'all have been doing good in practice together. Let's change up these lines and go there. And I think that's what won Tampa Bay that first championship. And I think that's what would help a lot of teams. Toronto, though, like I said, you can change the front. Going on with them. you can change the front office a lot in hockey and not change much on the ice. But I could see, some changes being made, especially if they start pushing for, hey, this talent's not working out, we need a complete rebuild. Let's start moving some pieces around, get some prospects, draft picks, and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, you heard our good friend Dave Preston of WTOP.com up in Washington. He said, for Toronto to be as talented as they are for 12 years in a row, we have seen nothing come out of them. It's crazy. Look, John is a Nashville Predators guy. He is a Preds fan. And,
my shame.
no, because the Preds are actually a really good team to watch. And you guys got one of our favorite players and Steven Stamkos. Obviously Sammy didn't work out very well for this year. I don't think he's going to come back. Honestly, I think Nashville would do best to cut ties with him. Obviously, you have to eat some cat money, but John, this when their coach overthinks, it really hurts them. And Nashville, they're a very passionate fan base. Absolutely, one of the most passionate fan bases you will ever come across. But when you irk the fan base the wrong way, they'll turn you in the drop of a dime. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, look how DeBoer went out. I mean, he flamed out gloriously, and that was in no small part because of how the fans just were done with him at that point. Yeah, and then I mean, it's the same thing with front offices too. I was thinking while Shane's talking, In soccer, you have a transfer strategy, right? Director of football always lines out every transfer window's strategy for how you're going to acquire players and all of that and what targets you have. I wonder if Toronto's going to change their transfer strategy, how they approach buying and developing players.
That's a very real possibility. You know, and Shane hit the nail on the head though. He's like, I mean, okay. The most way you can say is you can take the dog out of you can take the size of the dog out of the fight, but you can't take the dog out of the fight kind of thing.
Mhm.
It's true. You know, you can put 5,000 masks on one person, but that 5,000 mask is still on that one person, and they're still going to do the same thing they're doing. They're still going to struggle, and it's
like
it's
100 men versus one gorilla.
Yeah. Oh, here we go with that. Oh, boy, here we go. You know, where's that flag of mine that I have? See,
Boy.
You're lucky I don't have the flag on that one.
Well, see, you shouldn't come unprepared.
Yes, I'm gonna put a flag on myself. But guys, obviously we're excited to see what's gonna happen with the Stanley Cup Finals, Western Conference and Eastern Conference. I think Shane, I texted you last night. I think this is gonna happen. I think if Carolina doesn't get their bleep together right now, I think they're getting swept. I absolutely feel they're going to get.
I feel
a
gentleman's sweep.
I absolutely hate saying this too.
Sweet.
You know, Florida is my rival.
I hate it. I'm a Carolina guy.
Yeah, it's sad. It's going to be hard to see. But then also, let's go look at the let's go look at the Western Conference. I think Dallas. Yeah, look, John, I texted you this last night, and I told you. I swear.
Don't even start with the Dallas as a Carolina guy. We gave up major pieces of Dallas, and then we could face them in the cup.
It's a very real possibility.
But if we wouldn't have gave up those pieces, we wouldn't be having these problems that we're having right now.
Yeah, you're right. But John, I texted you last night too, didn't I? I said, man, I'm going to bed. Dallas looks lost.
Yeah,
they absolutely look like. The chicken with its head cut off. Excuse my language on that. It really did look like that way. They had no idea what they were doing. They didn't know how to read the shifts correctly. They didn't know the transition lines, nothing. And then what happens? I go to bed, I wake up, and congratulations. Dallas has won 6-3 over Edmonton, which, by the way, folks, if you have not had the opportunity, I implore you to go look at the locker room conversations in Edmonton that happened after that game. Yeah, it would incite anybody to really open their eyes up and do good for the next game, because Edmonton, man, they're a promising team, but they're very good at like hurting themselves. So yeah, but all right, so I want to switch to football, okay? And then I have a question that I'm going to ask everybody. This question, it's a summertime question. I'm going to start with you, Shane. Which team do you think, and where's Jody? I want to ask him this question too.
Oh, he's doing graduation things.
Oh, okay.
He had to get off for a second doing graduation things. So,
all right, well, I'm going to ask you this question, okay? Which NFL team, and we heard Abe kind of allude to it and during his conversation with us, but what NFL team do you think could make the biggest turnaround from last year to this year? Obviously, the question could be, is it Atlanta? Is it New Orleans? Heck, is it even Carolina? Like, who do you think, Shane? And after I ask Shane that question, I'm going to ask you, and then I'll have you answer that too, John. But who do you think, Shane, is going to have the best turnaround from this year, last year to this year?
Man, I can tell you there's a lot of teams that I see could have that good turnaround, but it's all kind of speculation right now. We're not seeing anything pan out. One team, I don't know how much of a surprise it's going to be, but I look at the NFC South, being a Carolina fan, being a homegrown kind of state coming up. That was my home team, so kind of forced to root for them at that point. And hey, it is what it is. And I mean, we've had ups and downs. I mean, we're not going to go into the conspiracies with the 2015 team and the 2003 team. How Ohio State won the national championship, and then they have a first-time head coach in his third year, and they face the Jaguars to open up the season, and if they win, they've always gone to the Super Bowl.
I'm not going that far. I don't think
we're
Carolina go that far.
but we're not going to go that far. Although it's been explained, as I mentioned too many times. But I see. I wish we had more time with Abe, but I wanted to get into him with the NFC South, the young talent that we see in the NFC South. Will that bring that 11 win possible down? Because I think Tampa Bay is a team that I see has some pieces, and you hear a lot coming out of their mini camp and their OTAs that they've got pieces that they've put together that could be a great team.
Shout out Jacob Parrish from Kansas State.
Yeah, I see them, and I mean, you heard the reports of Shiloh doing great.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
As a UFA. So, I mean, that's saying big things, especially coming from that. And you can considerably see a jump in the Panthers this year. And by jump, I mean 3 to 4 games in the win column. Even if we're the same on the field last year, our defense and the receiving core and the weapons around Bryce Young have gotten better. Atlanta, they have so many offensive weapons.
You have a fan behind you, by the way.
A fan?
There's a fan. There's a person in the window dancing, trying to get your attention. I'm guessing.
I'm not sure. I can't see that far. But I see the NFC South being a very tough league this year with the young talent. So I see Tampa as maybe that team that's going to go out from there, just because they have that experienced veteran quarterback with all that talent. But now on the AFC side, I could look at many, many teams because there's just been so many moves on the AFC side that we've seen, not only in the draft, but in the offseason. So in the same sense, like I see, I'm not going to say that this is going to be a surprise or anything in the AFC, but I think with the pieces that have moved and the pieces that they've put together, Buffalo finally makes it to the Super Bowl.
Oh boy, I hope that would just be icing on the cake. Now that would be really cool to see Atlanta. It'd be Atlanta versus Buffalo. But all right, so John, I'm gonna go to you then. I'm gonna ask you the same question. Which team or teams do you think could make a significant turnaround this year from last year?
I'm gonna say I've been grandstanding this all year since the free agency period. The New England Patriots are going to be contending for the playoffs, and
Whoa,
I'm not shy about it. They had a great draft, in my opinion, one of the best drafts, in my opinion, and their free agency was really good. They've surrounded Drake May with some good talent, not only on the skill position side, but also on the offensive line. They addressed the needs there. Defensively, they also addressed. They got Milton, I believe it was, in free agency. He was a former Eagle. He's now in New England. Vrabel is the change in GM and coach. You can see the culture they're trying to build, and I'm really liking what Vrabel and team and co are building there in Foxborough. My NFC team. Arizona.
I like it.
Arizona, because they have a young defense that is hungry, that is coached by Jonathan Gannon, they look hungry and they are talented. Last year we saw it. This was a team that missed the playoffs in the final stretch. They fell off, but they have the pieces on defense that could make them a sleeper defense. And also on offense, if Kyler can perform like he did last year, I was on this train last year in the season. I think if Kyler can perform like he did last season, that offense is going to be okay. Marvin Harrison needs to step up too, but if he can do that. I think this Cardinals team is going to be quite the sleeper in the NFC picture as well.
I like that. All right, so Shane, John, I got a good question. This is the last question for the night, and I got a really good question for you guys, and I want you to listen up because it's for everybody who's watching. I know the numbers are dropping. I'm going to ask this. It's a summertime question for everybody. Now that school is out for a vast majority, if not all, it's summertime. What was your favorite summertime treat growing up? Mine, first off, if you say that eating ice cream in summertime is stupid or dumb, there's something wrong with you. But mine was having ice cream after a hot day. When I was a kid, and this is what I remember the most, every summer we go visit my grandpa down in Mobile, Alabama, where I'm from, and he'd take us out to Gulf Shores or Dolphin Island, and we'd spend the entire day at the beach. And then before we left, we'd have this favorite little ice cream parlor, like literally right on the beach. And I had so much fun. It was such a memorable moment in my time as a kid, going and having ice cream with my grandpa during the summertime. Shane, I'm gonna start with you. What was your favorite summertime memory as a kid? It can be if it was ice cream, it can be whatever, popcorn, you name it, go.
Well, I've got a couple of them since you mentioned that with your granddad and all. Every summer, whenever we got out of sports and everything, which was not a lot of time, period. So, I mean, I remember one year we had to put off a whole cruise vacation until August because we made the state all-star tournament kind of stuff. So, but every year, 1 week out of the year, I got to spend with my grandma and grandpa on my mom's side. And then I never did get to meet my grandma and grandpa on my dad's side, but I spent it with his, kind of the matriarch of the family, my Aunt Jean and Uncle Bill on the farm, raising chickens. He's got, 120 roosters out there on a tether and probably 500 more chicks just running around out there.
Wow.
But doing that during the summer, but kind of my favorite childhood memory, kind of looking back on what you see in the Sandlot, which we've talked about plenty of times here. But man, the community pool where I grew up in Virginia during the summer, man, Mom would make sandwiches. We would take a cooler out there. It'd be 9 o'clock in the morning. It'd be 4 or 5 o'clock before we would leave, and we'd only leave that early because we normally had practice of some sort to go to. but that was a great time, and I mean, you get with your friends out there. It was like $1.50 or something to go for the day, or you bought season passes that cost so much. So that was great to do, and I say that was my favorite everyday kind of summertime childhood memory. Other than maybe riding my bike like 5 miles to a store because we lived out in the country in Virginia. Meet up my best.
The hill, 5 miles in the snow.
Oh no! I mean, it was 5 miles, and I mean, I remember we were on the bus. We were late for school because cows got out of the fence and they couldn't get them across the road.
That's a story to tell you. Why are you late? Well, the cows didn't cross the road. I mean,
yeah. We know that the chicken did, but the cows they don't like to.
Absolutely. All right, so John, let's go to you. What was your favorite summertime memory as a kid? I mean, literally, it can be anything. Name it.
I grew up in a small town in Kansas, and one of the things I really didn't have a summer. Our summer was trips because I was homeschooled. But anyways, the thing I liked to do, we were 5-10 blocks from our local library. We would walk to the library. We would go get a book and or movie and both, and then come home. We'd have our stack of books, and then we'd watch a movie and have like pizza or something every so often. For me, that was always fun. I enjoyed going to the library and picking out new books to read.
Absolutely. Look, summertime is the best. And reason why I bring that up, because obviously there's not so popular radio station. Shane knows this very well. Up here in the upstate of South Carolina, I'm going to take a stab at it. And they said that ice cream in summertime was stupid. So, but yeah, just call it out. All right, guys, we've had a fantastic show. Thank you for all those who tuned in. Thank you for Abe Gordon for coming on. We really do appreciate it.
Mhm.
Shout out to our good friend Hank Russell. Hopefully he had a fantastic, well-deserved visit with family. You know, Hank is a brother of ours. We absolutely enjoy his commentary, but I'm happy he got to spend some time with his family. You know, shout out to his mom, shout out to his dad, shout out to everybody, because Hank is a fantastic dude. We absolutely adore him. We love him. So shout out to him. And then obviously, Matt, congratulations to your niece on the graduation. It's an important event. Guys, we have 2 episodes left of the season 3. Then we are out for a week. Then we come back June the 6th, next Tuesday. We have a very special guest, Bob Rathman, the voice of the Atlanta Hawks, will be joining us. Cannot wait for that one. And then Friday is the season 3 finale. Cannot wait to have that one as well. So for Matt, for Hank, and for Abe, Shane, what do you tell these lovely people, sir?
Oh, man. As always, this is a great weekend as we're talking about it for graduation. But this is also a holiday weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. A lot of folks have Monday off. I'm blessed enough to have it off. And I just kind of want everybody to remember, I mean, nowadays I've got plenty of best friends that went into the service. I've got plenty of relatives that went into the service. But I just want everybody to kind of remember, you know, that this is the land of the free because of the brave, and to remember and dedicate all your fun this weekend that you're going to have responsibly, as Matt says. Responsibly. Don't get flagged.
Don't get flagged.
So do it responsibly, but do it in memorandum of those that paid the ultimate sacrifice for us. And you know, just as always, it's such a pleasure to be on here. May the good Lord bless, and peace, love, and bacon grease.
Peace, love, bacon grease, indeed. John, what do you tell these lovely people, sir?
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Like Shane said, we are very thankful for the veterans who gave their lives. I have a great uncle who was a World War II vet that I loved hearing stories from. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the weekend and stay sharp.
That's right. As I always tell you guys, peace up. 810 down white. It's the greatest sports here there ever was. Hey, Atlanta, let's finish strong. Look, it's 1-1. Let's get that dub and let's start a comeback on the season. Guys, you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great evening as well. And we'll talk to you on Tuesday with Bob Rathman of the Atlanta Hawks. Until then, enjoy the outro and good night.